What's up, everybody? My name is Sean. Welcome to Team Kitchen Fable. I'm here with Jimmy Lee, who, as you will probably know, just won Road to Nationals at the Cloak and Blaster. Jimmy, what's up, dude?
What's up, Sean? I'm still pumped, man. It was, of course, winning a Road to Nats. It's awesome, bro.
Yeah, so for you guys, we're actually going to be going through Jimmy's entire list today. And we're just going to talk about a little bit about the deck building process. We're going to talk about some of the things that came in very close to the tournament, some of the things that came out. And to be honest, I think with Flesh and Blood, all lists should be a work in progress at all times. And I think, Jimmy, I think you agree with me in that, like, you mentioned this before, like, this is not going to be the last Boltyn Raydn list you run, right?
For sure. This list might have won, and even though it won, I'm still feeling like I could do some changes to the list and maybe some changes to my playstyle as well. Always growing.
Cool. Yeah, 100%. And I think that, so what we have here is we have our main list right here on the playmats. And then we've got our sideboard, which will go into the end, and we're talking armor and, just deck cards. We've got the core 60 and the core 4 armor pieces right here. Jimmy, before we get into any cards in particular, what is the goal of Raydn? And is there anything you do differently as far as completing that goal?
Okay. So in Bolton Raiden, the goal is kind of what Raiden offers you that sabers, hatchets, I guess if you wanted to go Dawnblade, Bolton, what Raiden offers you that these other decks don't is it offers you consistent damage. Every turn can be powerful. You might not have as good of a go off turn as, Magic Hatchets over there, Sean, or Sabers. Their go off turn is huge, but we might not have a stronger go off turn, but we do offer consistent damage. And the idea with the Bolton Raiden is most matches, I want to aggro them down. I want to just go to face, put the damage on. If I need to set up, I will. But I'm threatening. I want to threaten about 7+ damage per turn, and that's like the minimum.
Do you feel like this deck has any favorable matchups?
Favorable matchups. I would say it has a good amount of favorable matchups. It would be easier for me to tell you the matchups which I am more nervous about. I sweat a little when it comes to Chain, Katsu, Bravo. Most other matchups, I kind of walk in like, I can do this. I can get this.
Okay. Yeah, so the more aggro decks, the decks that you might have to race are the ones that you struggle a little bit more with on the Raiden build?
So it's more of the fatigue Katsu and Bravo that it might not even be the deck has a bad match if I could just update my playstyle a little more. I've been doing not very much else than testing against Chain because he is the boogeyman of the format, you could say. And racing Chain is hard. Man has 2 hands, and your mechanic is neg 1 from hand. So he would be one of the harder decks to race. But most other decks, I feel like I win the race. It's not. I didn't test against everybody in the world and against the best players with every hero. But in my testing, I have found that if other heroes are trying to race me and they're not Chain, I can squeak it out for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think from my experience running a Raiden build, I tend to say if Prism wants to just run 2 Heralds a turn, I say, okay, go ahead. You're never touching your soul because you're going to have to pay for it. And I know I can dish out 14 to 20 damage on a solid turn, right? So I just I play it that way for sure.
Sure.
Anyways, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this deck. I've got the cards divvied out over here. We've got our defense reactions over on the side right here. We've got our charge card. So let's actually go into the core of what Boltyn is, and that's the charge mechanic. So why don't you go ahead and talk about why you chose. You've got 3 of each of these 0-cost on-hit effect cards. So that's the Bolt of Courage and the Engulfing Light. For those who don't know, Bolt of Courage gives you a draw on hit when you've charged, and Engulfing Light gives you Engulfing Light into Soul on hit when you've charged. The Express Lightning has no on hit, but has that extra bit of damage on it, so it's 4 damage, whereas the red for the Bolt of Courage and the Engulfing Light will be 3. So Jimmy, why don't you talk to us a little bit about why you chose, 6 of each of these 0-cost charge cards?
So in a Boltyn deck, especially a Boltyn Raiden deck, you want X amount of charge cards. I think in the Raiden build, worse than any other type of build, if you see a no charge hand, it could really throw you off your game. It could, switch the tempo. It could be terrible. So that's why I run the zero cost charge cards because they're definitely very there's not much wrong with them. It's zero cost, so you don't have to pitch. So you could block better, or you could just have a better turn when you play these cards. They're zeros. And Golden Light, Boulder Courage have relevant enough on hit effect and Express Lightning. Sometimes you just want to go for damage. If I'm trying to set up my soul or set up my arsenal, I will go Engulfing Light or Bolt to end the turn when hopefully they block a couple or just to threaten a block. But if they're on like 2-on-1, I'll charge in the Engulfing and shoot out the Express Lightning just because it has that little bit more damage.
Yeah, 100%. I think especially when you've already got the soul charged, Bolt of Courage is such a threat, right? If you're holding 4 or 5 cards and you throw out the Bolt of Courage and your Snapdragons are active, there's 1 or 2 in soul. On Raiden, that's like your opponents they have no idea what you're going to throw at them, right?
Right. I would say Bolt of Courage would probably be the strongest on hit effects. With drawing a card is just good in any card game. Well, any TCG like ours. And it's versatile. Like you said, you can lead with it and threaten, make your opponent sweat a bit. And you could also, sometimes you just drop, and then the last thing you do is a bolt, and now you threaten, you have to block this, or I'm going to have an arsenal, have another 5-card hand. It's very versatile.
Yep, 100%. And so let's talk about, so actually, you mentioned a good point, and I just want to cover it, is Boltyn, those no charge hands, so many of Boltyn's cards rely on charge. Not only those on hits for the same cards, but Lumina requires its special ability, which is to swing twice. It requires that charge. Raiden is effectively 0 damage unless you've charged, right? So that free cost does come at a cost to yourself, obviously. And then things like Valiant Thrust just don't have as much ability to swing, right? Valiant Thrust has that +3.
Yeah, you have like Courageous Steel Hands, which are like just the worst cards ever when you can't charge. Like if you draw Courageous Steel Hands and no charge card, it's a blank card that blocks for 2. It's the worst.
Yeah, I had a turn 1. I think it was like round 3 or 4 or something yesterday, and I think I drew into like a Spill Blood, 2 Steel Hands, and like a Sink Below, and I was like,
oh man.
And I was on the play.
Oh, that's the worst. I had my game 1. I think I drew a no charge hand and like a beacon and a courageous, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to. So I swung for 0. My opponent didn't react, and I played the courageous just to get rid of it in my hand. I can arsenal a card, hopefully get a charge card. Because you can't keep a 4 card. No
Jimmy, is that legal?
Either.
Jimmy, did you cheat? Is that legal? Can you target it?
So, I know that you can play Iron Song Response without Reprise being active. So I know that is definitely legal. And Courageous Steel Hand, it doesn't seem to have a cost. It just is an attack reaction that says if you charge this turn, target attack gains +3. I would assume if you don't charge, target attack gains plus nothing. It would resolve with no effect, I would assume.
I actually have lost games because I didn't know that.
I would assume. So I mean, if we, I am a player at heart. I'm not one of those wool bookworms. So if it turns out that I'm wrong, I apologize to my round 1 player. I did not mean it maliciously. But in the same way that Response can be played without Reprise just to get it out of your hand, I assume that Courageous was the same.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Warriors, please let us know in the comments how that works. And I will err on the side that you have to charge, just so that in the off chance that Jimmy's wrong, I get to say that I'm right. But yeah, definitely shameless plug for the comment section. Let us know what the answer to that is.
Well,
down there.
And that's another thing is as a player, you're always growing. As of course, if I misplayed, it's never maliciously, and I could grow. If my opponent had called a judge, it would just be nothing but a learning experience. Like, oh man, I'm glad I know that now for sure. I didn't even question it, to be honest, until just now.
So I want to ask you a little bit about actually the Take Flight is your only blue in the deck besides Energy Potion. So do you want to tell us a little bit why you chose to go with, you're going with 6 take flights and then a 7th as a blue. Can you tell us a little bit about why that is?
So other than Be of the Vanguard, which is conditionally, well, I say conditionally, but most of the time it's the best charge card in the deck. Take Flight is usually the best charge card in the deck. Other than the V from Arsenal and other, it's a very good charge because it lets you store your soul. It has go again on its own. It saves your soul, and again, it has go again on its own. So you don't have to rely on a pump, your opponent letting you go again or Snapdragons to continue your turn. So Take Flight being a blue, that happened because you'll notice that I run Battlefield Blitz. That was a recent change, and when I added in the 5 Battlefield Blitz, my curve just went slightly higher. Boltyn is it's a lot of zeros and ones, and I think it's more zeros and ones in the deck. But when I added those, I just wanted to get my charge count up as well as get my pitch value up. And Take Flight is just a solid card. If I need blue, I can pitch it. If it's my only charge card, I'm happy to play because it has go again. It's probably at least in the deck as it is now, it's my favorite one to make a one of be blue.
Yeah, I've seen you do this, and I love the very small off chance that you have a Take Flight blue, a Take Flight red, Battlefield Blitz, and Valiant Thrust, because that's just a disgusting combo with a full
I mean,
hand.
it also works well with Take Flight into Raydn into Command and Conquer pitching the blue. It does help. Otherwise the deck doesn't need to run a lot of blues. The weaker cards when the deck Raiden being 0, most of my cards being zeros and ones, I find myself pitching, if I'm pitching at all at a turn, it's like a red or a yellow and it covers the turn. So the blue does, I don't need as many, but when I have it with that good hand, with that Take Flight, Command and Conquer, I feel good about it.
Yeah, man, I bet. So let's talk a little bit about the attack reactions you run, because that's such an important part of Boltyn. And I want to make the note that you're not running any actions that buff besides the Plunder Run. I think the Plunder Run, and that's probably even more for the card draw, right? It does give you that ability to give it go again without needing that attack reaction. It just adds that pressure. But tell us why you go with these attack reactions, and you're running 3 Beacon of Victories, 3 red Steel Hands, and 1 yellow Steel Hand. Tell us a little bit more about that. Wait, you took out all the you have no Razor Reflexes?
I do not have razors in
That's
this
bananas.
in this deck. Well, listen, we are at the zone. Like, I might have won with this list, but of course, any list can be a work in progress. It might turn out that razor does belong. I actually took him out when I was lowering my non-light count. I took him out. But anyways, regarding the attack reactions, you just want in a Boltyn deck, especially with Raiden, you want X amount of cards that pump. If you don't have enough pumps, it gets to the point where you're either burning your Snapdragons, which you can, but it's a 1 use per game, or you're relying on your opponent to block in a way that lets you continue your turn. Otherwise, it could just spell the end of your turn without a reaction. So we have 3 red Courageous Steel Hands. It's strong. It's 0. It's Boltyn's version of Iron Song Response. Beacon of Victory, it might be a pump, and I definitely don't mind using it as a pump, but it's more for of course, the search factor. It's strong. It's less of a pump and more of a search, and also enables go again, but it does cost a minimum 2 cards from Soul to do that. So one to pump and search, and 1 to give go again. So it's not really used as a reaction, more of a search card. The yellow Courageous, it's just I felt like I wanted X amount of cards that pumped it. If I need the sideboard, it's maybe the 5th or 6th, maybe the 4th card that comes out, but it's definitely there because I felt like I wanted a pump.
Yeah, and I think something to point about this card, I do play Boltyn Axes, so there's really interesting lines of play. And I want to ask you, Jimmy, have you ever tried beaconing to a Plunder Run and just ending your turn and arsenaling the Plunder Run?
That could just be a gameplay update on my side, but I'm usually beaconing to continue the gas. If I play it, it's to continue the gas. Boltyn Raiden, at least in the way I've been playing it, I could do a little better with the playstyle, but I find myself not often having too much excess in Soul. So beacon is usually, sometimes I even charge it in, which I'm sure it might not be right all the time, but it's usually nice when you grab, like, if you grab Illumina, you feel good. You grab Illumina, and here's a very powerful card. I'm swinging in for 8, 4, and 4. Sometimes I'll end a turn with a Snatch or a Bolt. Beacon is great when you V, and then have a good amount of soul to give go again, as well as search for like an Illuminate or something.
Oh, you'll search
Yeah,
the
but
Illuminate though. You'll come in at the
so
end of the combat
yeah,
chain with Illuminate.
yeah. So sometimes I'll have V going, pumping all my attacks. I'll go V, Raiden. I'll maybe have a second and maybe even a third attack from hand or arsenal, and then ended up with a beacon. Search for another zero cost like Illuminate to go in for another. There's another 5 or 6 that's gonna go to my soul if you let it hit.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about. I think we'll talk about all these together because I think these are really where you're getting your bigger turns are happening with these cards. Obviously, there's Celestial Cataclysm and Bolting Blade. As a Bolton player, I consider these to be situational cards more than anything. Celestial Cataclysm, particularly on the Raiden build. Rarely do you ever have enough. Do you have 3 in soul? You're either winning by a lot or you're losing by a lot if you have 3 in soul. So tell me a little bit about these cards: the Battlefield Blitz, the Via the Vanguard, and the Valiant Thrust.
Well, V is definitely my favorite card so far in the game. I wouldn't. It might not be the strongest card in the deck because Lumina exists and Lumina is very good. But a V from Arsenal, it's a very strong. It's a very strong turn. When the V comes from Arsenal, if you could pay for it with Tunic, amazing. Charge 1 or 2 and just have a very long, a string of attacks. +1, +2, it adds up. So V is, of course, everyone knows is a very strong card for Bolton. If I could play from Arsenal, I will. Sometimes I'll even I'll see Tunic at like 1, so like not anywhere near the V, but I'll have like a Battlefield Blitz in my hand. So I'll pitch a yellow, play the V, charge 1, and then give it go again. Use that 1 floating for a Battlefield Blitz for now. Like what's it? It's like 6 go again. If you pump it with V until Raiden for 4. So even without the best case scenario, it could still be very strong. Battlefield Blitz, they were a recent addition. I'm not sure why I wasn't higher on this card earlier in my testing phase, but with Battlefield Blitz, I really like them in Bolton now. I like them because they help save your soul in a way. I don't have to banish to give it go again. It has go again. So usually a Bolton turn can look like charge, Raiden, banish, 1 last attack for a lot of damage or a non-hit effect. Battlefield Blitz offers me now charge Battlefield Blitz into Raiden, maybe even a 4th attack, but it lets me build my soul, which is it's always nice in Bolton for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to point this card out particularly because I remember we had conversations like back in early June, and we were like, Battlefield Blitz is whack. Like, it's not like we had a spreadsheet up of all of we had multiple Bolton lists we were all working on, and Battlefield Blitz was a field on the spreadsheet, and it was always 0. And sometimes we would come back and say, maybe Battlefield Blitz, and we just said no. And then after like another month and a half of experience, you had that game against the person you were talking about in Louis' video, and you're like, hey guys, I think Battlefield Blitz might actually work. And then we all just agreed with you. We're like, wait, yeah, actually, like we run out of soul sometimes. Like that would give us that extra damage. And it was like hey, Go ahead.
Sure, I was a little close-minded on the Blitz because I was like, Battlefield Blitz is 1 for 5 go again if I've charged. Valiant Thrust is 1 for 7, and then it pumps, so you banish, give it go again. I was like, Valiant Thrust. I thought Valiant Thrust was just a better Blitz, but then when you connect the dots and realize that Raiden Bolton, if you're gonna be aggressive with it, you are using up your soul quite a bit. So the fact that Battlefield Blitz does save your soul for you there, at the cost of 2 damage over a thrust, it's worth it in my opinion. Of course, if I have a mass amount of soul, I'll pitch the Blitz to play the Valiant Thrust, no problem. But I have more Blitz now. You'll see that I run the yellow ones. One, I needed to up my pitch count, and yellow Blitz is still not bad. I mean, 1 for 4 go again. I'll play it. I won't mind for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So real quick, and we're gonna get into the sideboard, and we're gonna kind of wrap up, and we'll encourage everybody to go watch our follow-up videos. we're going to be doing a gameplay video where Jimmy teaches me how to play this deck. And then we're going to be commenting on the Road to Nationals finals at the Cloak and Blaster. And I've got a pretty interesting perspective on that game. I went back and I watched it 2 more times. It happened yesterday, and I watched it 2 more times. It was a quick game. Raydn puts out damage quick, and they were both trying to race each other for their win cons. Jimmy's just being raw damage, and the Sabres being that double to triple Lumina turn. And yeah, look forward to that. And here we're gonna go ahead and finish up our defense reactions, and we're gonna move into the sideboard. So Jimmy, you weren't sold on Soul Shield for a long time. Tell me about your experience with Soul Shield.
I was not sold on Soul Shield for a long time because I was thinking, 4-card hand. Boltyn is already -1 from hand. Am I really gonna pitch to play Soul Shield? And my hand is like at best of 3 cards if I have an arsenal. I was not very high on Soul Shield going in, but like the fact that it can block for 6 on like a huge opponent turn. I mean, maybe they plunder run and hit me with their own Bolt of Courage or something for 6, threatening to draw. Soul Shield can be clutch. The fact that it goes to my soul, it may mean playing Soul Shield may mean my next turn may not be as aggressive and as high damage as I usually like them, but it does give me value later. Otherwise, it's a light card that you charge in would be. You flip it with Lumina, you put it in your soul, so it has its value there as well.
Yeah, and then the Sink Belows?
The Sink Belows, I'm not sure if they're as great as I think they are, but I love Sink Below. It's a block 4 for 0, so I don't have to pitch for this one. It's best from Arsenal, of course, but like why I love Sink Below is in Boltyn, at least in my Raydn build, I always feel like if I don't have a charge card, I'm not feeling I don't have a great turn. Sink Below helps me out there. I get to bottom a card, hopefully a Steel Hand or something, and then draw that charge card and have a turn when I wouldn't have had one.
Yeah. And moving into the sideboard, we got Steel Blade Shunt.
Yep.
I might comment on this one. I assume this is for Dorinthia Bravo off of a Tunic resource.
That's exactly it. 2 red shunts, solely for the Dorinthia and the Bravo. I'll bring them in versus Bravo because their crush effects are crippling. And then we have Dorinthia where, a defense reaction from Arsenal when she has a counter to you'll appreciate it for sure. Could even kill a Dorinthia with that deal 1 damage. So I mean, you could even threaten lethal with a shunt.
Dude, I'm so dense, I did not catch your crippling joke until you laughed about it. That's how dense I am.
You're good, man. You're good.
We got, we got the Time Snap Potion. Do you run it against just Prism? That's typically the meta decision. Do you run it anywhere else?
So, for me, it's just Prism. And again, I mean, I might have won this Road to Nats, but I could still update my play style, my deck a lot. But for right now, it is just
Jimmy, you're supposed to tell everyone you're the best in the world. You're supposed to be like, yeah, no one can beat me. Not even the fabled Fab Rumble, whatever that Discord is, the Rumble. You just gotta talk smack.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's just the kind of player I've been so far. As I've been just opening to learning, and I think that's been really helping me out. It's helping me grow. I think I only started in like March, maybe April even. Playing the game, I mean. And
yeah, you took the
being open-minded about things really, and always knowing that I can improve really helped me get to where I am right here. So again, back to Time Snap. Yeah, it's for Prism. I like to, if you can plop it down and just not have to touch it unless you need to. Their Arclight Sentinels aren't so bad anymore, basically. If they plop down a Genesis, you don't have to waste your turn just trying to get rid of it before they value off.
Yeah, I made the mistake of not running 2 in one of my Prism matchups. I ended up taking the win with a good bit of leeway, but I popped the Time Snap on my first Lumina combo, and then I only had the 1 in deck, so after that I had no cushion, and I actually had one of my combos stopped. So we got the Time Snap there. Impenetrable Belief, this was a hot take. I thought it was a hot take. I know you ran it this weekend. You were 2-1 against Chain. The only loss of the day was Chain and Swiss to a very good Orlando-based player. So tell me a little bit about why you chose this card.
Yeah, so the loss of the Chain and Swiss, a very good player, but this Impenetrable Belief, it definitely wasn't the highest on my chain hate cards to begin with, but after giving it some time, the idea behind it is it blocks for 4, so kind of like a sync, but this is also and blocks for 4. The condition is like that's after turn 2 versus a chain. It's like after turn 2, this card blocks for 4 all the time. Um, it's also a blue, so I never really want to play this card. I put it in the board not to play it, but I can block for 4. If I need to pitch it, I'll pitch it. It's a blue pitch, so that will help me out for my big, my take flight command and conquer turns. And what kind of pushed it over into making the board for me is it is a light card, so I could always, that's a big deal to me is having these good V turns, these good Lumina flips. That's a big deal to me. So if I see it off a V or a Lumina, I'm still happy.
Nice.
Blocking 4, by the way, is pretty big versus chain. When you think about they run Volition, a good majority run Nebula Blade, Meet and Greet. Like these are 4s that are on hits, and blocking for 4 means I don't have to sacrifice armor to stop a critical Volition.
There's the second time snap. Sigil. Okay. Where are you running this?
Sure. So the idea behind Sigil, I bring it against chain. The idea behind Sigil, of course, you see Sigil turn 1 in any format. It's great because here I'm going to Sigil and then draw up, so free 3. But with Sigil, the idea is if I have nothing to do with my arsenal, like I'm drawing up, I'm playing my cards anyways, I'll put a Sigil in my arsenal. And late game, sometimes the chain thinks they got you when you're at 2 or so health. Because if you'll notice, the thing is, I don't play no rune versus chain as Boltyn. So they'll see no rune, and they'll see me if I'm like 2, 3-ish health. They might play out their seeds and think they got the game on me. They might even make a mistake and not shackle or something because they think they got the game on me. And then you Sigil. This is my anti-seeds, my anti-arcane damage versus chain because I don't really want to be pitching to no rune in a deck that already negs 1 from hand when I play it the way I want to play it. So this is kind of my anti-chain.
Nice.
It might not be the best, but it's okay. I'm pretty okay with it. I'm happy with it.
Chains of Eminence.
So this is a 1-of, and this is a 1-of for me. It used to be a 2-of. I brought it down. It really is just it's for chain. If you blind call, you call seeds. They run 9. Sometimes you get the timing works out. You call a husk and break their husk. It's for chain for sure, but I'm not convinced that Raydn Boltyn makes the best use out of it because again, you don't proc off and out attacks like chain does, and you're already negging 1 from hand, so that you play a Chains of Eminence, you do your charge thing, you have 1 card in hand, 1 card in arsenal left if you didn't block. So it's I'm not completely sold, but I am giving it a try, and I'm doing okay. Just doing okay.
This is some good tech.
Dauntless. So yes, this it comes in versus Katsu, it comes in versus Bravo, and the thing with those decks is I always expect the fatigue version. If it's like combo aggro Katsu, I figure like I can adapt and win the game anyways, or at least try, right? But it comes in against a fatigue deck, so what's nice is I don't even have to side anything out. I just put them in. I don't want to be at 60 against a deck that's trying to deck me out anyways. I'll bring them in. If I can make them have to pitch for their 0-cost reactions, I feel good. If I can make Bravo's unmovable cost 4, I mean, that's backbreaking to them, I would say. Also pumps my attack, so I mean, it helps with the whole go again thing. If I'm swinging for Raydn for 6, maybe 7 the first time, I still feel good.
Nice. Yeah, I think you're running. How many of those are you running? 2 or 3?
2. I want to make it a 3-of, and the last 2 cards in my board are 2 more Command and Conquers. I run 1 in the main. I'll bring in the second versus defense reaction heavy decks or decks that like I might bring in a second versus Dorinthia. I didn't go against the Dorinthia yesterday at all, but I might bring in a second versus Dorinthia just so like a deck that relies like on having a 5-card hand to go off. I bring it in against Boltyn maybe that relies on having a 5-card hand to go off. Really, I mean, this is either you're taking 6, losing your arsenal, you're blocking 2 cards from hand, or I'm getting rid of all your. I feel pretty good about it. The third one doesn't usually come in for me unless it's versus Prism, so I can have those Phantasm breakers. Commander Conquer is a little more on the expensive side for my deck.
Yeah, 100%. So you got 2 more Null Rune, and those are the last cards we're going to be covering. Really quickly, who are these coming in with?
The Hood versus Viserai. I'm gotta respect the rune chance, the Sonata. And then the second one is I'm respecting Kano. Have yet to gone against it, and I don't want to lose to a deck that everyone thinks is a meme deck, and then I'm not prepared. So I bring a no rune 2 versus Kano because I don't run very many blues as we went over. So I mean, I'm gonna try to race them, have the no rune there if I need it. But again, it's just theory crafting because I've yet to go against a Kano like in CC period. I think.
All right. I think that about covers it. Thank you so much to Jimmy. This is a fantastic Boltyn deck. I would say, and I've said this before, I think Jimmy's better than the deck. I think there's a lot of work to be done on Boltyn in the community. There's a lot of work to be done on Boltyn in Team Kitchen Fable. And maybe you who's watching is going to figure it out. Particularly with the Raydn build. As Jimmy would tell me off camera, is don't ever abandon the Holy Blade. I remember when I switched over to hatchets, I got so much grief for it, and I think I kind of deserve it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this Team Kitchen Fable video. Jimmy and I will be playing this deck together in our next video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And with that being said, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah.